know how I am. Good.
Hey,
All right.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. We good? Question mark?
No, we good. We good.
Okay.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen.
Ameen. Ooh, I hear a little. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. We're literally 1 second, maybe more than 1 second. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. What is it? Lord have mercy. I'm sorry, y'all. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Preparedness Muhammad. We thank him for his prophets and their scriptures. We thank Allah for Abraham. We thank him for Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. In this dispensation of time, I bear witness that Allah God intervened in our affairs in the divine person of Master Preparedness Muhammad. I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his divine messenger, and I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the extension of God's mercy and grace, the man of the hour, and national representative to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I would like to greet us all in our original language of Arabic, a greeting of peace and paradise, which simply means peace be unto you. And I say assalamu alaikum. Kindly, so today we have special class today. We have our sister, I want to say it right because I feel like I'm going to say it wrong, Sister Tequella. Tequella.
Yes, ma'am.
I got it. Sister Tequella Muhammad. Sister Tequella Muhammad is a disaster preparedness advocate and community volunteer responder for Tennessee and Georgia surrounding areas. Her job is to facilitate and teach the fundamentals of disaster preparedness. She also assists the community in stocking and storing survival items while offering an e-commerce shop where she sells those same survival items at low cost. She is in a CERT, which is a community emergency response team certified, and currently taking FEMA, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency classes to obtain an emergency management degree or certificate. If y'all don't know and don't have Sister Tequella online, she is Divine by Nature 1 on Instagram. We've been following each other for years upon years upon years, and she is absolutely a disaster preparedness master. She has a company called ARC Survival Surplus. Thank you, Sister Jade, for putting that in the chat. And if you could please put her website, ARC Survival Surplus. She's also on Etsy, and she is an author. And I believe the book is showing children disaster preparedness as well. So children's books preparing them for disasters as well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She does it all. She is a wife and a mother of 6, a mommy of 6. So she absolutely has to be prepared for disaster. And we thank Allah for her. We thank her for blessing our beautiful stage, our masterclass. Our master call, and giving us her time and her energy. If you have any questions, you can absolutely place them in the chat. If you want them to be anonymous, you can send them directly to me and we will ask her questions as well. Do you want to save the question portion for the end, or how would you like that?
It can be either way. I definitely want it to be interactive. So
definitely have to be interactive.
Yeah. I don't want to just talk the whole way through. I want it to be, question, answer, scenarios or things that come to mind.
Very good. Yes, ma'am. So while she's saying if she wants it to be interactive, then that also means as she's speaking, let her know that what she's saying, you're feeling, and it's hitting you in your heart place. So make sure you're putting fire emojis. So let her know that you hear her, because honestly, it'd be hard sometimes talking to a group full of people. And we oftentimes are just listening, so we may not be thinking about typing. But sometimes it really does help. It's like when we're at the mosque and you hear the bear witnessing, and when you don't hear bear witnessing, the minister be like, "Do you hear me? Like, is there someone in the building?" Also, if you can put your camera on, I see some of us with our camera on. I see most of us with our cameras off. Yes, this is a special class, so it's not like the normal book reading part, but it is still also very interactive, like I just finished saying. So if you can put your cameras on, please do so. And with no further from myself, let us bring on our beautiful sister, Tequella Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. I like to open up in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all again in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. And I want to make sure you all can hear me well.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you perfect.
Praise be to Allah. So to get started, I like to tell you a little bit about myself, who I am, and how I got started into doing disaster preparedness. I also want you all to know that I really don't like speaking a lot, even though I do it. So I get real nervous for a second. But then as I continue to speak, I get out of my comfort zone. So if y'all see a little bit of sweat falling off my face, just ignore it. My real self is real silly and real goofy. So, but it is what it is. So I got started with disaster preparedness. I was born and raised in the Nation of Islam, and my mom's Muslim. Of course, my immediate family is. Most of my family outside of my immediate family is not in the Nation of Islam. So my mom actually is the one that kind of pushed me into disaster preparedness, because she was very prepared growing up, you know, learning from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We've always been told that there are certain things that we should have stored in our homes, and the way that we should eat. And so my mom took that to heart. She had 4 children. I'm the oldest of 4. And she made sure that we had all that we needed. So our house pretty much looked like the apocalypse growing up. You know, as I grew up, I always thought that the world was going to end because of the stuff that she had in her house. And little did I know that me growing up, I would actually follow in her footsteps and do the same thing, but kind of push it and expand it. And it actually got started with me being in Memphis, Tennessee. And I actually started really getting into disaster preparedness. I just loved it. I talked about it all the time. I talked to everybody about it, and I just started on my own preparing, because I heard the message that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. He said, you know, famine would be so bad that you will look at your little babies and want to eat your babies. And I don't know why that scared the heck out of me. Like I just kept trying to visualize in my mind being that hungry. And so I said to myself, let me go ahead and make sure that I have what I need. Since I was having children, I wanted to make sure not only was I prepared, but my children was prepared, but also my friends and family. So I started to have workshops in Memphis. And, you know, it started with 2 or 3 people here and there. And then it started to grow. And I had 30, 40, 50 people coming to these workshops. And I was having them started at once a month and twice a month and going up from there. And then when I would teach at the workshops, when I started talking about some of the things that were involved in preparing, people started asking me, okay, so where do you get those items? So I started sending them to Amazon and Walmart and all these other places. But then I thought about it like, wow, if I had the items on hand, that would also help our people to go ahead and get the items right then and there, because it's like out of sight, out of mind. So then I started having a little store in the back of my workshops where I would set a table and I would have certain items, and I would sell out of all those items every time I did my workshops. And so that's what prompted me to starting my own business and my own store, to actually selling the things that we need. And I also realized with Hurricane Katrina and all these different floods and hurricanes that our people were the worst off. They could not find certain things, you know, certain Caucasian people, they were able to go and find different disaster companies that they were able to get things that they needed, but we didn't have that. So I felt like it's something that's needed in our community, to be able to have a place where we can go to and we can have the disaster items that we need. And we have them at low cost, so we're not being overcharged for stuff, and we're not eating things that we don't like, you know, in those ready-made meals or things that have pork in it, soy, or just stuff that is not good for us. So that's where the vision came. And so now today, 2021, I've been working with some other believers as well. So I have some other things coming out, but I'm trying to expand with other believers outside to where we're going to come together and just create a wholesome disaster preparedness website with other items that we need, dehydrated, freeze-dried foods, and all type of different survival items and things that you all can use and purchase at very low cost that you can go ahead and prepare your own selves. So
that was a great opening. That was a very detailed opening. Yes, oftentimes we have, most of the time we have ministers on here that do give also very detailed openings. However, there are some that I'll be like, just a little while longer while I do some more writing, please. So that was a very detailed opening. I thank you so much for that. So we could go into some questions because we do have questions in the chat as well. And I also have some written down. I really want to make sure that we also have our pen and papers on deck. This will be on YouTube. Oh, just so you know, Sister Tequella, this will be on YouTube. Okay. Yes, I don't know if that makes you more nervous, but you'll be fine. So you're doing great. Yes. But please have a pen and paper handy because she's going to be dropping a lot of jewels today, and I want to make sure that we get as much as possible so that we can immediately be able to go to the stores, go to her website, and get the things that she is advising us to get. So, first question: what are some things we should absolutely have in our go bags?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Can you explain what a go bag is?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I actually have one here. This one has a couple of things in it, but I took the stuff out. So a go bag is basically a backpack that you pack with items to last you for a day to 3 days, so 72 hours. And it's basically, for example, if you had to leave your home right now and evacuate, you have enough items in that bag to be able to last you for those 3 days. And the bag is not supposed to be where you get comfortable. You don't need your edge control. You don't need to grab, your hairbrushes and all the combs. You want to make sure you have the things that's going to help you sustain yourself for those days. So I always tell everyone it should start with food, clothing, and shelter. Food, clothing, and shelter is what it starts with. So basically 3 days worth of water. So you can use the water packets or you can do water bottles. You don't want to put a gallon in there because that's going to be too heavy. You also want to do clothing. Just for an example, like this was my daughter's bag. So something simple and light, such as like a t-shirt. You can do some light jogging pants, and then I will open it up and I folded underwear and some socks in here. And it can just be one pair of clothes, but you definitely want to have a change of clothes because, for example, if you had to flee your home and you had to go somewhere else, even if it was a hotel, you may only have that backpack. So what are some of the basic things that you know yourself that you may need? I also have this is one of the things I actually put in my backpacks when I sell them. So this is like a hygiene bag. And in here it has like the deodorant. It has some body wash, soap, lotion, toothbrush, toothpaste, a little poncho. So you want to have some basic hygiene items. Definitely some toilet paper. I think we all forget about that sometimes because you just never know where you may go. You may be on the side of the road. You may be traveling. I've seen people stuck in their cars on the highway for hours. So imagine having to use the restroom on the highway. So you want to make sure you think about having tissue and not looking through the glove department trying to find some napkins. Okay. Also, maybe a little first aid kit. You can make your own first aid kit, or you can buy a makeshift first aid kit. It just depends on you individually on what you need. The first aid kit don't have to have a whole bunch of items, just Band-Aids, main little bandages that you may need. Again, you can put it together yourself. I have a big one that I normally put together myself, but I do put these in like my children's backpacks. So food, clothing, and shelter. Also, shelter would consist of like a little tarp, some tape, some masking tape, a little tent, or a little the little blankets that I put in the bags as well to keep you as warm as possible if you're stranded somewhere. It's not going to be your blanket that you have on your bed. So we want to think about when it comes to survival, you may not be comfortable, but you're surviving. If you're alive to be able to go through that bag, and that's all you need. So just basically whatever makes you comfortable, whatever you can fit in there and be able to carry it comfortably, and it'll last you 72 hours. That's basically what you need to put in there. Now, some people can find ways to add different tools in there for cooking. You can find little makeshift stoves to put in there. And I do have a list that I can actually give to you, Sister Visa, or mail out for you all, that just some items that you can put in there. I also do children's bags, but of course their bags are going to be really light and just have the basics for them. Again, a change of clothes, some snacks, definitely non-perishable things such as like grits. I mean, not grits, I'm sorry, I said grits. Cream of wheat, oatmeal, like the portable navy bean soup. I have some here. So this is from Silk Road. So I kind of work with them as well. I buy it in bulk, and sometimes you can get it from the Staple Goods program. And this is actually creamy navy bean soup, and you basically just put hot water in it, and it's basically a bowl of soup. So it's like pureed soup. And I'm working with some other believers that's doing the same thing with other items. Oh, I thought you said something. Yeah, with some other items where you just have to add hot water to it. So this is something that's really light that can go into your children's bag. And this actually makes like a whole pot of bean soup. So it's really light and very simple. And as long as you have hot water, this is something that they can eat. Even if it's cold, it's something that they can have, at that moment and to be able to last. So it just depends, again, on your children's needs. I have some children that don't eat certain things, certain children that have allergies. So make sure you're preparing for that. You definitely want to have some cash, physical cash in your bag, just in case you go somewhere that's not taking credit cards. You definitely want to have small denominations. You definitely do not want to have $100 bill, because trust and believe, if you try to get something and they're not, making change for you, you may have to give them $100 for something that you wouldn't necessarily have to do if you would have had small denominations of change. You definitely want to also have some identification in your bag. So I say you can make copies of certain things and put them in some waterproof bags inside of your backpack so that people can identify you. Like if something were to happen to you, they need to know who you are. We've had people that have went camping and have died because they, were stranded out for long periods of time and nobody could identify them. And you don't want that to be you. And so make sure that you can be identified with whatever's in the bag, and just make sure you have like those basic things. And I can go on and on, but it's basically a list of some good items you can put in there.
Okay, before we get to the questions that we got in the chat, the follow-up question for that is, then what are things you said one, but the sisters was like, I'm adding it. What are some things that we add that is absolutely unnecessary that just weighs it down?
I've seen people put, I'm gonna give you an example.
Jars?
Don't put this in there. Don't do that. I have seen this. You canned it yourself. I get it. It will last, but it will be heavy for you to carry this. And it's kind of dangerous. If you set your backpack down too hard, you risk tearing this up or breaking it. So I don't recommend you putting canned jars of food in there. I definitely recommend non-perishable things, dehydrated, freeze-dried food you can put in there, because freeze-dried is really light. Freeze-dried is the healthiest because it basically retains its moisture and its nutrients. It's just the fact that it is pricey. Even if you try to get a freeze dryer, you're going to be spending in the 3,000s for a machine that freeze dries food. It is a process, but that food is really good and it's really light. Also, the clothes. I see a lot of people try to put their whole wardrobe for a whole week. You want to put all your stuff in there because you may not, you may not be able to come back home. Do not do that. Try to get some light items. I wouldn't recommend jeans. I know some people like to have the jeans, but they are heavy. They do weigh down your backpack. If they get wet, it's going to weigh down your backpack. So I just suggest something really light. Again, like some type of sweatsuit, some type of jogging pants, some type of t-shirts. What else have I seen? Books. A lot of books. I've seen people try to take a lot of books with them. Don't take a lot of books with you. There's certain things you can print and copy. You can fold it up and put it in there. but do not take a whole bunch of thick books and put them in your bag. Definitely, somebody said PDF. You can do PDFs. You can email certain things to yourself. Take pictures, scan and copy things into your email if you're worried about losing a lot of your books, but I wouldn't recommend putting big, heavy, bulky items in there. And I also recommend, like, when you pack your bag, that you practice with it. So we have, like, here in Atlanta, they have Stone Mountain. It's a stone mountain where you can go up the mountain and climb. You can bring your family, you can bring your children. That's a practice thing. Go hiking or go on a trail. Put your backpack on and see how long you can walk with that backpack on. Okay. And if you know you can't go but so far and it's too heavy, then you got to go back in that bag and take some of those items out. I also do recommend a pair of shoes if you can get those in there, like some real comfortable sneakers in the bag, because I've seen people at their workplace and they wearing flats or stilettos, and then you get stranded and you don't have any shoes. So you're walking for miles in flats or, stiletto shoes, and it's uncomfortable. You got to take your shoes off. So if you have rooms to fit some really comfortable walking shoes in there, do that. You don't have to go out and go spend $100 on a brand new pair of shoes to put into your go bag. Just whatever you have already in your home, you can use. Matter of fact, whatever you put in your bag, most of it you actually can find around your home. Unless it's like your first aid kit, you can go to Dollar Tree, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Walgreens and put together certain things for the bag, but you don't have to go out and spend unnecessary money to pack your go bag. It's very simple items that you actually can find around your home. Flashlights, make sure you do have batteries for your flashlight, little things like that.
Very, very good. Thank you. So now we're going to go to our questions in the chat. A sister said, what is a water packet?
It's a water packet? Oh, okay. I do have one downstairs. I didn't bring one up. Did I bring one up? I thought I had an example up here. No, I don't have an example up here. But anyways, a water packet is basically like, I don't have an example. It's basically like like something like this, like a Mylar bag that has water in it. And it always have an expiration date of a 5-year shelf life. Even with the 5-year shelf life, a lot of times I don't throw a lot of water away because I feel like it could be boiled and used for like cleaning purposes or something like that. So I don't, I certain waters that I know is just going to be strictly for cleaning that I keep in the house, and then I have my drinking water. But those packets are really good and they're really light, and those are what I put in the children's bags too. And I also put them in the adult bags. So if you ever purchase a bag from me, you'll have like 5 to 10 of those in your bag. So it's basically like a portion size of just enough water for you to be able to survive that day. So if you drink two of those will be enough for you, bare minimum of how much water you need for that particular day to survive in the packet.
Got it. Very good. And then a brother did have kind of a twin question to that. He said, he said, what is the best way to store water to have ready for a disaster?
The best way is to continue to rotate. I tell people that all the time. Please rotate your water if possible. But it definitely needs to be in a cool, dry place. I know that I did some rearranging someone's garage for disaster preparedness not too long ago. And that's one of the things I see a lot of water placed in the garage. And I know that most of us don't have many places to put water. And you can do that, but only if you are rotating it, meaning that what you're buying now, you're setting that back, but you're using what you already have. So I don't want you to just buy water and store it there and keep it there for 2 and 3 years. And then you're buying new water and you're using that right away. Use the water that you already have and then store your new water so that you're always in rotation to getting the freshest water. So when something happens and you're not able to get out, you know that what you have in your home is already the freshest water. But make sure it's stored in cool, dry places. You can put it under the bed, in a closet. It's really no place where you can't keep it unless the temperature fluctuates a lot. So you definitely want to keep it where the temperature is like between like 50 to 70 degrees. You don't want it to be, up and down. So definitely not really the garage. If your attic gets way too hot, you don't really want to put water up there with plastic bottles. So One thing, like with my family, because I tell everyone it's 1 gallon per person per day, but that's a lot of water. So especially if you have a huge family, if it's just one person, that's 30 gallons in a month. But when you have a family with 8 people, you're gonna walk in and fall over water. So I don't have that much water, but I do know that I have enough, but I use those 5-gallon water jugs that they sell. So they have these big blue gallons of water that they sell in the stores. Those are 5 gallons. Those are good to have because of the material that it's used out of. It's really stable and good material, and that's 5 gallons. So you'll always know I have 5 gallons. So if you buy 5 of those, that's 25 gallons of water. That'll be just enough for you to have to store, and those will last you a couple of years. So if you want to use those and rotate bottles of water or rotate the gallons of water, that's the best way.
Very good. I say very good a lot, so just bear with. And Sister Tony Gray asks, would you recommend copies out of identification cards or the original copies?
No, I would definitely do a duplicate or a copy. I wouldn't put your original in there. If you're able to have access to your original during the time that you're able to leave out, then do that. But I wouldn't put my originals in there just in case, because the thing about disaster preparedness, like, people are getting crazy, and if they can get your backpack and they snatch your backpack from you, they have your original identification and all that. You don't want them to have that.
Yeah. A Sister Rudy asks, steel toe footwear and tools. I'm thinking that she's asking, should you have steel toe footwear and what tools you should have?
The steel toe boots, not for your go bag. That's something that you can have in your home. If you need to, or something that your husband needs to have just in case he has to go out, or maybe at your workplace. But one thing I know, I wore steel toes before for a minute. Those things are very uncomfortable. And I can't do it. Like, unless I'm doing some real hard labor, like lifting a tree, I'm not going to be able to wear those. So, I mean, it's good to have them. And I also have like rain boots, like some big rain boots that I have that go up to my knees in case that, water gets into my home and I have to walk through. So you don't have that risk of electrocution. So those are good to have. Steel toe boots, I wouldn't really recommend those unless you are like a man who's actually going to be getting out there doing some hard labor.
Yes, ma'am. And sorry to the brother that I said Sister Rudy to. Much apologies. So sorry. So I'm gonna go to one of the questions that we have on hand before we get back into the chat. What are some things you see we consistently neglect in our survival kits, whether it be in our go bags or whether it be at home, just preparation in general? What do you see that we constantly are neglecting?
Yes, ma'am. The first thing I would say is time. I think we neglect time, that we feel like we always will have the time to get to certain things, that the prices will be the same, that nothing really will change. And one of the things I do want to say when it comes to disaster preparedness is not to live in fear. Like, this is not, like, I hate the word prepper. Like, I don't call myself a prepper. I don't like that word. Because, that's like a stigma attached to it, that you prep and you just crazy. You just one of those people that's an extremist and like to go out and put fear to people, making them think the world ended tomorrow. That's not what this is. This is just using wisdom. For example, like I told someone else, if you're in a car, you have to put your seatbelt on. That's wisdom. It doesn't mean that when you get in a car accident that you may not die, but your chances of survival is going to go up when you have your seatbelt on. So that's the same thing that this is. Your chances of survival when it comes to a disaster will be higher if you have some of the things on hand that you need than if you do not. And so that's how we have to look at it. And you tell your family the same thing. So the time, like, don't let the time get away from you where you keep saying, okay, I'm going to do this tomorrow and I'm going to do this next week and I'm going to get to it. And then you look and now inflation has hit and prices are double and triple what you would have paid if you would have did it when you said you would do it. So I think that we always neglect time and put off things that we should do today, including myself. I do it too. So I think that's important to write that list out, and start to at least get some of the things on the list that you say that you're going to get into. One of the other things is rotating and organizing. We neglect those things. I just poured some coffee. This is myself, so I have to be the example that I bought last year. Or this is oatmeal. I'm sorry. I pulled some oatmeal, and I looked at the date, and it says March of 2021. So this is just wasted. You know, I don't even know how much I paid for it, but I have to go into my survival kit and go every 6 months to check the dates and rotate my food. You also want to do that because you don't know if there's rodents. You don't know if there's, bugs that have seeped into it. You don't know if there's mold. You want to go and check your items. You don't want to just stock them up and just be like, I got all I need. And they sitting there for 2 and 3 years. And you don't know what's happening to your food. You don't know if something has been destroyed or if something has been stolen. And I recently realized when I just moved to a new home, like I had a bucket full of batteries. Somebody stole it. And it had to be the person that helped me move my things into my home. Because I had the buckets and I put batteries on. They probably looked and was like, wow, she got a whole bucket of batteries. So that's the thing. Everybody can't go in your space, but had I have been checking and, when I got myself in my new house and went and checked right away, then I would have known that something is missing. And I just realized it, and I already been here 5 months almost. So, definitely rotate, definitely organize, definitely keep an inventory of the things that you need and the things that you have to make sure that nobody's going into your items and trying to take it. Next is also we neglect practicing and having drills. We don't, like, for example, if something was to happen, you can't tell yourself what you think you're going to do if you've never tried. If you've never taught your children what to do during a fire drill, just have them do one. And if they don't know, all of them going to be running into the wall. Nobody's going to know what door to go out of. Somebody might not even think it's a real drill because they've never practiced. So you have to practice and see what you would do in a situation, see what your family would do in a situation, and see where you all can improve in certain situations. So I think we neglect actually taking the time to practice. Your go bag, check your food out, open it up and see how it tastes. When I first started, I used to buy a lot of the ready-made meals and some of that food. And so one day I was like, you know what? I want to see what it tastes like. I never tasted it. I just was buying it, putting it in my bag. Now I opened that thing up. I was like, what in the world? Like, I probably would have died just eating that. So I always tell people, like, you have to know what you're eating. And then I read the ingredients. It didn't have pork in it, but it was full of sugar, salt. I mean, the salt intake was ridiculous, and it was full of soy. So I'm like, this is how they're feeding us. It just had high calories. So it's like 3,000 calories in this big, thick bar, and it tastes like Play-Doh. And this is, you know what I'm saying? So you trying to survive, you finally get somewhere, and you're like, I'm good. If you open this up, and this is what you have to eat, because you never tried. Water purification tablets. They are good for purifying water, but they don't have the best taste. So, if you're not used to that, if you've never tasted water with the purification tablet in it, then you're going to think that it's going to taste like Aquafina, or not Aquafina, because Aquafina ain't good, Fiji, and then it's going to be like, no. So just different things like that, just kind of testing it out, testing your backpack out, testing your drill skills out, testing your capacity to withstand. Like, how long can you actually walk? Because I walk with somebody, they like, yeah, I can go up the mountain, I do this, I'm hyped. We walk 5 minutes, they already tired. Can we sit down and take a break? So you're not even able to go, but in your mind, you feel like, when a disaster comes, I'm good, I'm gonna be ready. I can eat, I can skip meals, with disaster preparedness. I can eat one meal every 3 days. You cannot. When it comes to a disaster, that's one of the first things that you want to do when you are stressed, when you're under high alert, when you're under that type of shock. You need to eat something. It's just like a comfort thing. So if you have like peppermints or something in your go bag, you might get nervous and eat each one back to back to back. That might be something you do when you're under stress. So if you don't know this, because you haven't practiced, and you're going to think that you're going to be able to withstand and eat a meal every 3 days, and you may eat all your food the same day. So practice these things and get your level of being able to deal with these things now under control.
That was excellent. You mentioned getting our children ready for disaster, and being that you have 6 children, is 4 boys, 2 girls?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. I know.
We thank you for your service. But
I'm waiting for you to have the first one. I'm waiting for you.
Give me some time, okay? Being that you have 6 children, what is the age range? Like, how far apart?
My youngest, she'll be 5 in a couple more days, and my oldest, he'll be 16 in January. So
okay,
yeah.
So between the 5 and 6, how do you explain disaster preparedness for them to understand, or at 16 for them to understand at their age level, and for them to be absolutely ready in time of disaster?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the reasons why I came up with the book, the Disaster Preparedness Readiness book, to just bring it to their minds, because I don't want to, again, incite fear in my children and make them think, because I actually was like that. I actually had high anxiety when I was younger. I read like Theology of Time by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when I was 7. And, when you read something like that and it's talking about the mother planes and the earth and the atmosphere opening up and all this type of stuff, you don't know how to interpret those things. So you basically scare yourself to death, can't really sleep or do any of these things because you don't understand. So I always like to sit and talk to my children and just kind of pique their brain and their mind on what their understanding of certain things are, and not to put fear in them. So a lot of times I don't live in fear. Like, I don't be like, I've been around people who's like, oh, we gotta go and get stuff. We gotta go to the store today. They run their credit card to the max trying to buy survival stuff, just because they just living in that moment of fear and panic. And I don't live like that. I'm just calm with it. And I definitely have done drills and evacuations with my children. Again, like I said, Stone Mountain, I had them walk up Stone Mountain to see how they are when it comes to being able to walk for a long period of time and only have what you have with you, and not be able to do anything else differently. Like, we're not stopping. We're going till we get to the top. They've walked long periods, like even walking to the store, walking to the park. Like, we try to do things that don't involve, electricity. Like, we've done that where I've turned the power off, power switches off in the house to see how my children will react without having power or not being able to use water. We've had actual power outages where things were out. And to be honest with you, my children remained calm. Like, they didn't panic. Nobody got scared and started screaming, oh my God, the power's out. We actually were able to maintain. And then I just showed them how to use some of the items that we have. Like, we have the portable stoves, the butane or the propane stoves. We had the LED flashlights. So, we had the solar power lights and different things that we have in the house that it didn't even seem like the power was off, because we were still able to function as though we still had power. It's just, the biggest thing is not panicking in any disaster, because I think panicking itself would get you killed.
Sister just asked, can you ask her about preparing with her children when they were younger, like 2, 3, 4, like those age?
What was the question?
Excuse me. She said, can you ask about preparing for your children that are younger than 5?
Yes, ma'am. And so the same thing, I always had like a go bag, but I didn't have one for each child. I made like a whole big duffel bag that I would have for my children. And I would put, all their things in there, like whoever was in diapers, I had pull-ups, basically like an oversized diaper bag. But then you have, just extra stuff. Most of the diaper bags are already ready for our children to be able to leave the house and go somewhere. So it's basically the same thing with that. But just also having one in your car. I would say, if you're parents and you have young children, if you have a vehicle, having a different kit in your car. And you can use a bucket to put a lot of your survival kits and put it in a car if your car is big enough, or you can have one of those storage bins. And in that storage bins, you could just do the same thing that you would do with your bag. You would take, you would get like your portable stove, you would get some bottles of butane, you would have your clothing, you would have your food in there, you would have your tarp or your shelter or little tents, if you can fit it in there, depending on the size of your family, that you can fit in literally inside of that bucket. You have tissue, you have your sanitation items, and your extra mask. You have some blankets. I do wool blankets that I have in my car. And you just have that stuff inside of a bin. And you'd be surprised really how much stuff can actually fit in there that will be good enough for your children. And the same thing, you just talk to them about the time and you practice with them. Even the younger children can learn. I worked at MUI. One of the things I did with the children for the disaster preparedness is I had them make their own first aid kits in the class. So that was a project and they were so excited. Matter of fact, they got their parents to start stocking and storing disaster products and survival items because they were so anxious to be prepared. They felt like they were already prepared with just the first aid kits. So just get them involved, like have a little thing where the children can sit and they can pack their own bags, or they can, make their own little first aid kit. And you tell them, like, if something happens, you can use this and you can use that. And just kind of give them the little visual little book or a little coloring book or something like that. So just give them as much understanding as they can at those ages.
Very good. Thank you. And our sister, Darika King from London, says, I don't speak her language, but I saw the word information and I saw the word mercy. So I'm thinking that she's saying, like, thank you for the information. Like, it's great. Crazy to a lot. So now I want to transition to, we're talking mostly about go bags and things on the having to leave the house. Now let's go into having to stay in the house. Yes, what are some things that we absolutely need to have around the house? Some things that, what's the word that I'm looking for? That'll keep us from not going insane with our family members, having to be stuck in the house. We're talking about Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to have our houses prepared for 3 to 6 months. We've had a nice taste of that in this panoramic that we're in. But because it's been fluctuating so much, I don't think that we've necessarily felt as much of the pain that it is to be stuck in the house for 3 to 6 months, not being able to leave. We don't necessarily know exactly what that looks like. So what are some things that we should have absolutely in our homes to prepare for that?
Yes. So the first thing I definitely tell everyone is definitely have books. You definitely need to have a variety, like basically your own library in your home. Books about everything that you can think of that would interest you. Of course, fiction, but nonfiction books as well. And definitely if you have children, things that interest them. I take my children to the library, or I take them to the bookstore and allow them to pick out books that are interesting to them. So, outside of just reading the books by the Minister and the Messenger, you definitely want to have some creative arts in the home. Painting is really good. The coloring books, like even the number books for the adults, are good stress relievers for adults. You definitely want to have, I tell everyone, snacks. You definitely want to have snacks that you can put up. I know we shouldn't eat a lot of candy and certain things, but you got to have that in your home. You have to have something that's put up for that time where you're just going through it. You just need something to comfort you and your children at that time. Definitely some music. I did have portable DVDs, and they actually went up on them because I guess they're trying to fade them out. But I still think that those are good to have. If you have a laptop or a portable DVD player and you're able to buy those DVDs, just to have them. If you don't have power, that's something that your children can still do. Even if you have to use like batteries, if you have to plug them into like the car, we have the converters or the inverters that can connect to like your vehicle or something like that, where you can charge up your electronics and you're able to still use those things. That's something that you can have during that time. Your family may be able to watch a movie for an hour or some type of show or something like that. Or just some music, be able to listen to some regular music or a lecture from the minister that you may have on hand. though that's a good thing to have. Definitely writing utensils, pencils, paper, just the basic stuff that, you know, give everyone an outlet. If they have to go in one part of the house, everyone has that outlet to be able to do something different and just have that space. Did you want to know about like survival items, or you more so just talking about different things that you can do to kind of keep sanity?
All the things.
All the things.
Survival items too.
Yes, ma'am. Also, like I said earlier, the portable stoves. They have a dual stove. I think it's from Gas One, and that stove is a propane and butane stove. It's both, because I tell everyone, like, if you have a propane stove but you don't have any fuel, or you have a butane stove and you don't have any fuel, then it's no point in having the stove because you can't cook with it. So you definitely want to have the stove, but you also want to have fuel, and you want to research about how you store the fuel properly, because you have to be careful when it comes to the different fuel that you have. 9 times out of 10, if you keep it in a cool, dry place, it won't, you know, act crazy. But sometimes we put it in places that it shouldn't be in our attic in the ray of the summer, and those things can explode like that. So you definitely want to research, study it, and make sure that you are putting those items up where they go. But it's good to have 1 or 2 of those. So if you're not able to cook, or if you don't have a gas stove at home, you want to have that in your house. You also want to have like a makeshift way to wash your clothes. You can use your tub, but back in the day, they used to have these scrub boards before they had the washers and dryers, where our parents used to scrub our clothes and stuff like that. So that's something that you can invest in to get in the case of, and the little rods and the little string that they had in the home to hang up your clothes, so that you're able to do those things. When it comes to being at home, you just basically want to get into the mindset of before we had all these things, which some of us can't remember, but before we had all these things, what did our parents do? And it may seem ancient, but they survived through that era of time to get to this era of time. So just going back into that, thinking about the things that they did and how they survived, how they washed and all that, research those things and see what they did in that time before TVs, before the cell phones, and, you know, all the stuff that we do now. How did they occupy their time back then?
Very good. Quick question about canning. So, we've been canning a lot as MGT, and by we, I don't mean me. I have been failing in the canning department, but we are on our way up the ladder of canning. However, we're taught to have things stored between 3 to 6 months. What does that look like? Let's say for a family of 3, what does that look like of 1 month of canning? And then we can multiply our ways up and, you know, be the mathematicians that we are. But what does that look like in a person's home of, I have this many amounts of people and I have to supply cans for this person for 3 to 6 months, for this person for 3 to 6 months, for that person for 3 to 6 months, so we can really get an idea of what our homes is looking like. And also the rotating, because I don't think that they can last too long. I think it's like a year or 2, something like that. So even with the rotating, and I know even when me and my mother were canning, we were like, it's almost time for the can to be open. But in our soul, it was like, but we're not in a disaster yet. We can't open the cans. So even getting over that of like, just because we're not in a disaster, they do have to be rotated and switched out. So
yes, they do have to be rotated and switched out. So again, I can't say it depends on your family and how your family eats, because you do have people that eat a lot, you have people that eat less, you have those who can fast, who cannot fast. So right here, this is a jar of carrots that was canned May of last year. And like for my family, my family is big, so I would say maybe like 4 of these, and it just depends. Because for me, like during a disaster, I already told my family, like we're just going to be eating 1 meal a day. We're going to be eating supper, you know. And I know that, you know, the children should eat 2 or so meals, but we're talking about if we had to get to a place of survival. I may I may be able to make them some oatmeal or something in the morning if we have that as a side, depending on, you know, how I look at what I have. But the main meal that we're going to have is probably going to be around 4 o'clock that we're going to eat every day. And we're going to, you know, it may be 4 jars of this, and maybe some beans, or maybe 2 jars of navy beans and a side of whatever vegetable that we may have, you know, or you can do dessert. And that may be like, you know, we canned jelly. You may be able to have bread or something, or crackers that you may have stored, and you may have just add jelly to it. That may be your dessert during that time. I know that with the smaller jars, we were told to do at least a jar per person. So that would be 30 jars per year for each child. So if it's 3 of y'all, that's 90 jars of food in a month that you would have to can for your whole family. And then you're saying you rotate those things. So it's like, well, they want you to eat them and they want you to continue to can. So basically, if you open up those jars, just go ahead and recant whatever you opened up and put those up to restore. But some jars can last for years outside of just the 1 year. They tell us 1 year, but of course, sometimes they can last, but you do run the risk of botulism. And that's the scariest thing when it comes to the beans. Because I didn't ever want to eat canned beans. I was always scared of botulism. I always felt like it looked like it's something in there, and they're like, it's not, you know. I've known a sister who she's had canned beans, like she had canned beans for like 10 years in her garage. Like and they still look good. Like it looked like it was nothing wrong with them. Would I eat them? Probably not. But she probably would eat them and she'll probably be fine. So it just depends on you as an individual. And again, your family's needs. If you haven't been fasting and your family's not used to fasting, then those jars will go a lot faster because you'll probably have to eat twice a day. So if you have 90 jars, that has to be something divided within that time. Are you willing to fast? Are you willing to allow your children to eat this particular day and you fast 1 or 2 days and not eat? So that also can preserve your food. So it just depends, and also on how much you can. Because if you haven't canned, then, and also how you store. And I know it was a sister that asked me as well, like the proper way to store. And I see a lot of people just storing their canned items on shelves. I don't know why that drives me up a wall, because I always feel like if it's a real disaster, like if it's a slight earthquake, all that stuff is going to fall and break. And you're going to be so mad at the fact that you went and canned all these things and you haven't got a chance to use it. Not saying that the other way that I'm about to show you all is not going to, you know, cause them to break, but I felt like it's a lot safer with it. So what I do is I'm going to show you. Sorry, y'all, it's hot. I always put my jars in buckets. I like them inside the bucket. So you just take an empty bucket and you can put bay leaves on the bottom. And sometimes I do that. That keeps bugs out. It keeps the eggs out of the bucket. And then they can be jarred and you can just put them in the bucket and you can layer them. So sometimes 2 to 3 layers, it can be 2 to 3 layers of canned goods inside of the bucket. And I'll also add like the bubble wrap in between the buckets, in between the glasses inside. So they're not just rubbing onto each other. And just do that until it's all the way tight, and then just put the lid on it. And then they have a lid called the Gamma Seal lid, where if you know you're going to be using this, it's basically just a screw on top where you put it on, it just screws off. So this part locks onto your bucket and it just basically screws on and screws off. So you don't have to be pulling your buckets open and all of that all the time, whatever's easier for you. But yeah, I would store them like that and I would just rotate them. And then again, the biggest thing is just continuing to can. Even if you don't really know how much you have and how often you're doing it, just don't stop the canning process. And if you don't like to can, find somebody that does and allow them to can for you and pay them to do it. Because there are people right now that do can and will charge you. It may be $20 a set, but that can save your life if that's something that you're not into doing. Some people just don't like to can. Some people just don't have the time. So get someone who's interested in that and allow them to can for you.
Sorry, excuse me. A sister said, what are those buckets called?
Oh, these are just regular buckets. This is one of my buckets.
Okay, the top.
Buckets for my business. Oh, this is just a Gamma Seal lid. So the lid itself is separate. I'm gonna be having these on my site, but right now, if you all need them, you can get them from Lowe's or Home Depot. And I think they're like $7, $8 for these. And it's just good to have. And if it's something that you know you're not going to touch for a while, like I said, you lock it on, it stays on. And I like it because, for example, if it gets wet in your home, your food won't be just floating through your house. They'll be in this bucket and it's literally tightly sealed. And so you'll be able to just grab your bucket and be able to maybe take that to the second floor versus you trying to scatter around and trying to get food that may have fallen off the shelf and you're trying to get it together. So yes, ma'am.
Very smart. Sister Alicia said, yeah. Someone asked in the chat the link to your store. If somebody could put, I'm going to say it out of my mouth, but if you can type it, that would be great. So everybody can go to the link. It's ARK Survival Surplus, ARK Survival. Please spell it correctly, and then surplus.
Let me say this about my site too, y'all. Y'all gotta just bear with your sister. So I've been getting it revamped, and the way that the site is gonna look and all the things are gonna be on there, like I've been having someone work on it for a while. It's gonna be totally different. It's gonna have a whole bunch more stuff on there. So it's just what you see is not what it's gonna be. It's just temporary. So inshallah, just keep checking back. It's gonna be the bond.com. So just give it a little time.
Yes, ma'am. And she also has an Etsy shop as well. If you go to her Divine by Nature one, again, that's Divine by Nature one, her Instagram. You could go into the link in her bio and it'll thank you, brother Jeremy. I love the Master Call family because they be on it. Okay. So if you go to her Instagram, then you'll see her flow code. Thank you, brother Jeremy, for putting the flow code in the chat as well. You can just click on the flow code and that he just put in the chat just now, and then you'll be able to see all the stuff that she has going on as well. So we're wrapping up our last 30-ish minutes. I still got so many more questions, but we're gonna get to it. Okay. So being that you're recently married, and prior to that, you were obviously a single mommy of 6. And I know we have a lot of single mothers on this call. What does disaster preparedness look like for, especially mentally and emotionally and physically, for a mother who is essentially doing it by herself? Like, what does that look like, and how to prepare, like I said before, definitely mentally for that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. The biggest thing is, again, don't panic. Don't be overwhelmed. A lot of times we get so overwhelmed by so many things, especially doing it by yourself. And like I tell everyone, having 6 children and not ever expecting to be a single mom, sometimes circumstances leads us to that. I never thought that I would have to be that person. But Allah is the best knower. There was a lesson that I had to go through that. And I learned from that. And, I'm positive about it. No hard feelings for anyone. But the overwhelming part is to face the fact that you're by yourself. And I never felt alone, though. I always had Allah there. Allah has always been there. He has always guided me, and I always trusted in him 100%. And I never felt like I had to go through I went through things, but I never felt like I couldn't get through it, like I just wasn't going to make it. It just was really hard at times. So all those sisters, just hold on. Never feel like Allah's not there, because he is there. Whatever you're going through is just to make you stronger. But how I was able to get through those things is just buying a little at a time. I never got overwhelmed where I felt like we just not going to make it. Allah's going to make sure you're good. Anytime I go out, I would just buy. How I started was I would just buy one item with what I could afford. If I go out and I was at any store, I could be standing in line. If I saw a flashlight, I just get it and I would put it up. If I was at Dollar Tree, if I wanted some candy and I said, I'm not going to get the candy, I'm going to leave the candy alone. I'm going to use that money and I'm going to get something else. I bought some solar power lights. They were $1 at Dollar Tree one time. And those were for my grass. And I want to say that real quick. And I actually had a power outage and they were in my grass. And I actually took them out my grass and put them in my bathrooms for my children. And they actually lit up the bathrooms enough for where my children can use the bathroom without me having to have candles lit and it'd be a hazard for them at night. And, I didn't want the bathroom to be empty. And tap lights, they were scared to go into the bathroom to tap the light. So those kept the room already lit enough for them to actually go in there. So I just wanted to say that. But just buy what you can when you can. If you can get a little extra water, buy extra gallon of water. If you can, if you get any money from any extra thing, and don't hesitate to reach out to other people, because people will help you if you actually ask them. A lot of times we shy away from asking for help because we think that it's going to make us look a certain way. No, ma'am. Like, I'm the type of sister where I don't care who you are. I know what it's like to be a sister. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to say, Sister Tequella, I need an extra $10. Well, my children need this. I need diapers. Like, don't feel like your sisters are not here for you. That's what the sisterhood is for. And I know that some people hear that, and that sister may not have been that sister, but don't take that away from your other sisters. They may not have done it, but it may be somebody else that will. So, hold your head up when it comes to that. And if you need something, ask your sister, because sometimes we suffer in silence. And a lot of people don't even know that we're going through things because we haven't told anyone. And then we put this barrier up, like everybody's out to get us, or everybody's against us, or nobody's here to help us, because we don't know, sis. We have no clue that you're going through the times of struggle, but you don't know who to ask. So I'm just putting that out there, even out now, that if you need a sister, then I'm here for you. But yeah, just start slowly stocking up your items one by one. Canning, again, if you're not able to can on a regular basis, you got to work or you're busy, then get someone else to do it. There's a lot of pioneer sisters that love to can, and they're just canning and stocking up their houses right now. So they don't mind some conversation and you paying them to can for you to make sure that your family is secure during this time. Definitely read up and research a lot of things. There are free things online that you can look at. CERT is actually a community emergency response team that you read earlier in the bio. That's a free class, and it's an 8-hour training, 2 Saturdays in a month, 16 hours, and you actually get certified for disaster preparedness. And they walk you through a lot of different things as well to help you to prepare. And the other one was FEMA, and FEMA is the same thing. They actually have classes that you can take about disaster preparedness and how to prepare your family and how to have drills and evacuations and different things. So you're not feeling afraid, or you're not feeling like you're not going to be able to make it through, even with children. So there are things out here for us that will help aid us into those things. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I love that you said you did not feel alone, because you always had a lot. So I put in the chat to refer all of us to the story of Hagar, because she absolutely had to depend on Allah. Even the story of Mary having to depend on Allah. We could go through countless people in our scriptures that at the end of the day, who they had was Allah. They may not even have food, no water, no shelter, didn't have a go pack, but they had Allah. And at the end of the day, he brought them through, always does. I want to give a shout out to Sister Denisha Victoria, because she's been locked in the entire time. Every time I scroll through, because I'd be scrolling through to see people's faces and stuff, she's been this close to the camera, locked in the whole time. And I think, and she got notes, praise to Allah. So super happy about that. I'm glad that you transitioned into basically what I was going to ask next, talking about certifications and like medical-esque things. And a lot of us on here may not be doctors, but what are some basic things that we need to know in case of health emergencies?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Again, you definitely want to have a first aid kit in your home, not the little first aid bags, but actual makeshift medicine cabinet. And I know someone asked that earlier. You want to get the things, of course, for your particular family. If you have anyone that has any illnesses or diseases or anything in your family and they're taking medication, you can't ask for pre-filled prescriptions a 30-day advance in the prescription just to have, in your kids. Definitely, I recommend the Paximune, and I recommend the ivermectin, and anything that you know that you should have at least a 30-day supply of in your kit. Definitely, each child is different, and each child may need different things, like I said before. So plenty of Band-Aids, plenty of bandages, ice packs. I got a list somewhere, so I don't want to keep saying and I don't have my list, but if you give me a second, I'll get my list for you. But I have a particular first aid kit list, and there was one also sent that the messenger sent us that was floating around via social media. I also shared it on my survival page and on my social media page that I may be able to send out as well. So it just has a list of certain things, and I just would recommend you personally taking the time to research and figure out why we use those things, because it'll take another 30 or 45 minutes right now. I have to break down those individual things, but just make sure that if, like, the bloodborne kit, like how to stop bleeding, do you know how to do that? Do you know how to do CPR? If you've never had an opportunity or chance to do CPR on a real person, that's something that you can do or take a class for it. And now in the time of COVID, we can't do it on real people, but they do have the mannequins and things like that you can do from the Red Cross and things like that. So take training classes. A lot of the things that, we learn, you can just find it on YouTube. You can just sit and binge watch videos on different type of medical procedures that you can do at home, and different things you can do when it comes to your children. Do they have a history of seizures? Do you know what to do if you can't get medical attention? And like I said before, a lot of times we neglect time, but we think that, the ambulances and the fire trucks are always going to be able to come to us when we call, and that's not the case. So we have to be able to know that if they're not able to come, what is the next thing that we do? What is our backup plan after, and we may have minutes to save lives. We may have minutes. Have you seen a dead body? How are you when it comes to blood? Blood doesn't bother me, but I have friends that the sight of blood, they basically about to pass out. So you have to be able to know, like, again, your threshold. Watch movies or watch things that involve blood. And I'm not saying to watch it to put fear in yourself, but just to kind of get you to a place where you are able to see it and not pass out or not panic when you see it. Because again, panicking kills you. You have to be able to be calm in a situation in order to think your way through to the next step on what you should do in the case of. And when it comes to your children, that's the hardest thing. I did have one of my children who almost did choke, and I've literally had to be calm. But that was one of the scariest moments of my life. My baby, I gave it to him. I gave him a piece of candy when he was like 3. And as soon as he put it in his mouth, I guess he put it in there too hard. It literally went right in his throat. And I was watching my baby, looking at him. He was just standing there. He wasn't like gasping or falling out or nothing. He was just like, he was standing there touching his neck, but it's like he was turning blue. And then I'm looking at my son, and then I'm trying to get him, and I start seeing bubbles and all this stuff. And then I just went into action. I just started doing CPR and putting him on his back and trying to get the candy to come out his throat. I mean, even to the point of me digging my finger down his throat, trying to dislodge it from his throat. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I can lose my baby in like 4 or 5 minutes. But it all had to be about being calm. And then finally, when I was able to get the candy out, fire truck got here. Then I just broke down. I mean, I'm in my driveway like, oh my God, thank you a lot. But had I had panicked, then the situation and scene could have been totally different. So again, you just have to know what you would do in the case of and how you will maneuver through those things. But again, watch videos, watch YouTube, study different things, research on it, and make sure that you're able to handle it.
That was really good. Thank you for sharing this story of your baby. How old was he?
He was 3. He's 6 now. Yeah, he was 3.
He lives to fight another day. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If anybody else has any other questions before I go into the rest of mine, please put them in the chat. If you wanted it to be anonymous, you could send it directly to me. However, we are going to push forward. Next question, of going back to the beginning of the call or the interview, about water. What are some ways, if we're out, let's say we run out of water, let's say we're our survival pad, we're pads, we did enough for 72 hours, but we're pulling up on 90 hours and we have run out of things that we need to survive. What are some ways that we can clean our water without obviously having access to clean water?
Yes, ma'am. Well, like I mentioned earlier, the purification tablets, they're really inexpensive now and they're good to purchase. They don't have the best taste, but they're good to just go ahead and put into your kit because they do clean your water. Also, a couple of drops of bleach. If you do have some water, like for example, if you have to collect rainwater, that's some water that you may collect outside, but again, it may be dirty due to the debris in the air or whatever coming down. So you may have to put a couple of drops in that, like a gallon of water. I think it's like 3 drops to that gallon of pure Clorox bleach, not the scented bleach, not the bleach that pours real slow, just a regular Clorox bleach. If you have some on hand, if you don't, that is definitely something that you want to put into your survival kit or something you want to keep in the house. It's just some pure Clorox bleach, but just definitely 3 drops, and that'll help clean out as much as you can so that the water can become drinkable. It may not be the best, it may not be 100% clear of impurities, but it'll be what you need at that time if you have absolutely no water to drink and you need to have water in order to survive.
Thank you very much. Now, we don't carry weapons. However, what are some things in our survival kit that can be used for survival needs that can double as weapon if need be?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely 2x4s, definitely bats. Always at my old house, I always had a steel bat that I kept in all my closets. I had a bat in every closet, and that's just in case you ready for it. I may not be able to beat you, but you don't know I've been there. That's how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be, and they don't know your home like you know your home. So if somebody tries to break in, you may have to set up some traps for them. You may have to, just have some things in some places where, you have access to it and they don't know. Somebody said a metal shovel, definitely a metal shovel. I don't keep like pepper spray in like my car or anything, but I do have it in the house, and I do put it in multiple places up high where nobody can find it, but I know exactly where it is. So the wrong person coming to your house, that will shock them, because I have been sprayed with pepper spray before in my eyes, and I'm gonna tell you now, you ain't doing nothing. If you got the right pepper spray, it's a wrap. So if somebody come in, if they don't have, even if they have a mask on, and they also have something called dog repellent, you can use that too. It's kind of the same thing for dogs. You can use that on, people. Last but not least, if you don't have that, then they have oven cleaner. And oven cleaner is very dangerous, because it'll take somebody's face off. It'll take the skin off their face if they want to come in, but that's their risk of coming into your home. So that's just a few things that you can use. They have Drano that you can throw on somebody. Bleach you can throw on somebody. It's just certain things that you can kind of put together, but that's something again that you can research, put together little things, but just know how to get to them. Make sure your children know where to get to them if they need to get to them, and be prepared to use them, because there's no point in having things anywhere if you are afraid. Also get some training. Make sure you get your martial arts training in and you are in shape, so that if somebody come again, whether you can beat them or not, they should know that you've been there. So you should be able to get them a good workout by, being able to defend yourself. Because if they come in there, this is not pretend. We're not doing an exercise. Like they may come to literally try to kill you and take your food. So you may literally have to fight for your life at that moment. And so you need to really be prepared for that time. And so, yeah, those are a couple of things that come to mind.
Very good. A sister asked, what was the ratio? A brother asked, I'm sorry. What was the ratio again for the water to drops?
I got it on my Instagram, so I don't want to give the wrong. I said 3 drops per gallon. It may be 8 drops, but let me get actual facts for that. So if he looks on my Instagram, it's somewhere on there. I got a chalkboard, and it's like the ratio of water to drops.
Yes.
Bleach.
And then was asked, will this be a replay? Yes, it will be up on the internet, YouTube to be exact, inshallah, tomorrow. Switchable. A sister literally just asked, Assalamu alaikum, sister, if we work outside the home, should we carry our go bags with us?
Yes, ma'am. If you work outside the home, I actually would recommend you having a car kit if you're driving, or you have a bag at your workplace. So I would recommend you having a bag at your workplace that you actually can take into your workplace if possible, and then one in your car, and then one, your go bag really stays at home in your doorway or a closet, so that if you have to evacuate, you can leave. So if you have your own car kit, that stays in there. Like if your car is not equipped for you to have a survival kit in there, then I recommend you keeping your go bag in there. But if your car has the space to have that car kit, then you basically should have like basically 3 bags, one at work, one in your car, and then one at home. Because you may have to leave your home on foot. You may not be able to get in your car. I've seen like the recent floods that have happened, people's cars have actually, been washed away. And so they may have the bag in their homes, and they may have to be on the 2nd floor. And some people have gotten out their homes, but water has flooded everything, and all they had left was what was in their go bag or whatever was on that 2nd floor that they could take out the home. So yeah, I definitely think you should have one at work, because a disaster may happen at work, and you may have to leave out of your workplace with whatever you have at your workplace. You may not even be able to get to your car at work.
Very good. Yes, ma'am. And her Instagram, thank you, Brother Dimitri, is Divine by Nature. So I have done all the questions, but as you were talking, you were actually answering the questions that I had anyway. So I have completed all of my questions. If anybody has any last minute questions that they would like to ask, please do so. While you're doing that, please make sure, as we're wrapping up, that you remember to go to ARC Survival Surplus, that you remember to go to ArcSurvivalSurplus.com or the Instagram. Thank you, Brother Jeremy. He just put the link in the bio. Make sure you go to Divine by Nature, which is her Instagram, Divine by Nature 1. So you can get acquainted with our beautiful sister, Tequella. Thank you, Brother Jeremy, for putting her flow code in there as well, which will have her the book link in there, her Etsy shop in there, her link to the Arc Survival Plus, her business page in there, and a couple of other things as well. Can you actually talk about your book a little bit before we close out? Actually, let me ask you this question first and then go into the book. Sister Takia asks, Assalamu alaikum, quick question, important things to keep for infants?
For infants?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. Like I was saying earlier, the biggest thing for infants is keeping that like the baby diaper bag, but packing that for like a week for your baby, just in case. Having the same thing if you have a car, Sister Takia, and you can have it in the trunk. Some things in the trunk for your baby, some clothes, some baby food that you already have in jars, already in your survival kit. Diapers, any type of medicine that your baby may be on, blankets, definitely like the whole full body suits, especially if it's going to be getting close to the winter time, and just some basic stuff that you can keep in your car to be comfortable. And the go bag is the same thing for babies. I don't really make it extra for them, because 9 times out of 10, the baby's going to either be breastfed or right under the mom. And so you don't have to do extra, because again, you have to carry the bag, your personal bag, you have to carry the baby, and then you'll also have the baby bag. So you don't want to, outweigh yourself with extra things that, you'll have to carry in case that you have to walk long periods.
Very good. Very good. I was definitely thinking that, like,
Yeah,
mommy holding babies and bags and their bags. That's a lot. Plug real quick. Those of you may know, because you definitely talked about working out, and it's super duper important, especially the endurance part of it. Like you were talking about walking and running and all the things. If you are not exercising right now, for those of the sisters that are on the call, sisters only, my cousin is a personal trainer. She does do mornings and afternoons. If you know me, then you've seen that I've been doing it for the past like 6-ish months, and you'll see it in the close friends. So you could definitely reach out to me, and then I will get you acquainted with her, so we can be able to get our endurance up and be able to learn to breathe for long periods of time. Her workouts are the high intensity interval training, something like that, where you basically are working out straight 30 minutes. So you will learn how to breathe. Yes, the HIIT workout. So yes, shameless plug right there. It's super duper important. And she's a mother on top of that. She's a mother of 4. So she understands the value of being able to have endurance with children. So all praises to Allah. Any last minute things that you would like to say? The book is what we were talking about. The book.
Yes, ma'am. The book, and then I'm gonna add a couple last things just a minute. But the book is just a disaster preparedness book for children. I just put it together again because I have children and I wanted them to kind of understand what disaster preparedness is and just what they're seeing taking place, like us canning and us making a list, just kind of getting them familiarized with disaster preparedness. Because a lot of times we may do things and we don't involve our children. They have no clue what's going on. We have to find a way to involve them in that. So it's just a cute little book. It's not like real big or fancy. It just gives them the basic principles of this is why we're canning. This is why we're doing our survival kits. This is why we are, this is what you see mommy doing in the background. So inshallah, you all can get that for your children just so they can have. And it's very colorful. Sister Mira from the Mosque 55 in Memphis, Tennessee, actually was the one that illustrated it for me. So I thank a lot for her. And yes, ma'am.
And I just put up the picture that you actually sent me. I did a professional thing and I shared it so everybody can see. And as you were talking, it was so cool. And it's going to show up really good on YouTube. Crazy to Allah. And any other last minute things before we close out in our Quran as usual and our prayer?
Yes, ma'am. Maybe just 1 minute. Just want to run down real quick, a quick list, because some of the things that they were asking about. Make sure you have a crank radio. The crank radio is radio that you kind of just crank up and it gives you the weather and what's taking place. And you want to have that in case you don't have batteries. And it also takes batteries. You also want to have a map in your car. You want to know where you're going. If you do not have a phone or phone signals are down, you need to know which direction you're going in. Make sure you have your hygiene and sanitation in your car, some toilet paper, duct tape, whistle, flashlight, extra batteries, again, your food and water, and your first aid kit. So just wanted to run through those quick things.
And lastly, as believers in God, by whatever name you want to call him. This is a question for you, Sister Tequella, again. Mentally, spiritually, emotionally. We talked about it with single mothers, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, for just believers, period. What is the disaster preparedness that we should have in that way for our minds?
For our minds, I would say is always keeping Allah at the center of our minds. Seeking refuge in God. And like you said, whatever God you believe in. If you don't believe in God, to me, it just makes it a little harder for you to maneuver through life, especially when you're going through some really hard times. Like I got through the hard times in my life because I knew that Allah was there. I knew that he was present and that he would see me through. And so if you do not have that, it is going to be hard. And he said, even people that have dealt with that were atheists, when it comes to disaster, they cried out to God, when the plane is crashing, they saying, oh God, help me. So definitely keep him first and foremost. Please study, please keep books, please keep the word in your mind. Please stay positive, stay with negativity, and want for your brother and sister what you want for yourself.
One for your brother and sister, what you want for yourself. I love how you wrapped that up. That was very, very good. We thank you so much, Sister Tequella. This was absolutely amazing. We're actually, we were supposed to be going into our book 2 today because we just finished our book 1 of How to Eat to Live. And I know you just did the How to Eat to Live challenge, 30-day challenge. We finished our book 1 last Tuesday, and we were going to go into book 2 today. I was like, let's pump the brakes for a second. Let's take a little vacation over to Divine by Nature 1, and let's have some disaster preparedness talk before we go back into How to Eat to Live, because it does pretty much go hand in hand. This book is high-key disaster preparedness. So we thank you so much for taking this time out with us, for giving us your time. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Please go to arcsurvivalstarplus.com. She said that it's not where it needs to be yet, but there is things on there. So get what you can while it's up there. And then she's going to add all the other cool things. So like she said, please continue to stay tuned and make sure you go to her Instagram, Divine by Nature 1, and make sure you get her book. If you have children, get the book, and it's you can get the PDF, correct?
Yes, it is. That it's on Amazon. I don't have it on my Etsy, but I may put it on there. But it is on Amazon, so it's like $7.
Amazon.
Yes, man.
No reason. Go to
Right.
Amazon and prepare the children. She has done the hard work for us. And that is being a sister. She has done the hard work for us. And then all we have to do is give it to our babies, read it through it with them, and then they'll be prepared for disasters. Again, her website, she has done the hard work for us. I went through the website and I'm like, packaged beans? Like, she has the stuff. She has the stuff, and this is why we thank Allah for our nation, because what we don't necessarily want or like to do, we can always look to our sister, look to our brother, and they are going to supply it. We are talented. All of us are absolutely talented. So I want her to be a reminder that all of us are talented, and we have something to offer the cause. We have something to offer the mission, and we could just get up and do it. Like she said, we think we always have so much time. The best time is today now. The best time is today now. So I want to thank you all for joining. Again, I want to thank Sister Tequella for joining. I love you so much. You know how much I love you. We've been down for years.
Yes, and I thank Allah for you. Thank you for allowing me to be here, be on here. I've been, in and out. I was sick actually the last couple of weeks, but I've been in and out, and for years I've definitely admired you, and I thank Allah for you. You're growing to an amazing woman, and I thank Allah. Congratulations on your marriage and everything. Like, look at you, just glowing, and this is it. So I thank you so much, Sister Anissa.
Thank you so much. So we will go ahead and so we will go ahead and close out in our Quranic scriptures as we always do. Let me go ahead and get that. Okay. So we have opened up to, it's nice and short. We love when Allah gives us a nice short section. So we are on chapter 22, the pilgrimage. This is section 7, opposition to the prophet. Can you hear me okay? Cool beans? All right. Section 7, opposition to the prophet, which starts on verse or ayat 49. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Say, O people, I am only a plain warner to you. So those who believe and do good, for them is forgiveness and an honorable sustenance. And those who strive to oppose our messages, they are the inmates of a flaming fire. And we never sent a messenger or a prophet before thee, but when he desired, and we never sent a messenger or a prophet before thee, but when he desired. Then the devil made a suggestion respecting his desire. But Allah annuls, ANNULS, annuls that which the devil casts. Then does Allah establish his messages. And Allah is knowing, wise, that he may make what the devil casts a trial for those in whose hearts is a disease and the heart hardened. And surely the wrongdoers are in severe opposition. And that those who have been given knowledge may know that it is the truth from thy Lord. So they should believe in it, that their hearts may be lowly before him. And surely Allah is the guide of those who believe into a right path. And those who disbelieve will not cease to be in doubt concerning it until the hour overtakes them suddenly, or those who comes to them the chastisement of a destructive day. The kingdom on that day is Allah's. He will judge between them. So those who believe and do good will be in gardens of bliss. And those who disbelieve and reject our messages, for them is an abasing chastisement. All praise is due to Allah. So I thank you all for joining your special edition of Masterclass. No, it's not a masterclass. It's a master call. I have to make sure that distinguished, because people keep thinking that Minister Ava's master class is on the master call, and it is not. So thank you all for joining this special edition of your master call, Disaster Preparedness. Again, it will be on YouTube, inshallah, tomorrow. And I leave you as I came before you in the green words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. Don't go nowhere yet, because we do have to close out in prayer. Family that prays together stays together. Thank you all for saying Walaikum Salam back. I know I cut you off every single week, and I never let anyone give me back the greetings. So, Brother Demetrius, can you please close us out in the Muslim closing prayer?
I would be honored. And thank you again, Sister Tequella. I was late because the work never stops, but I can't wait to watch the replay.
A sister asked, what is the Instagram? It is ASE So ASE space ENA. If you look at my name on here, it is literally just my name backwards. It's Ace Anna. So my name is Anissa. My Instagram name is my name backwards. That's it, with a space in the middle. ASE space ENA.
All right. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we worship, and thine aid do we seek. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path of those whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after hearing thy teachings. Ameen.
May Allah continue to bless us all, protect us all, and don't let what we just did in the last hour and 45 minutes be in vain. And I'm talking to myself first. Do not let this be in vain. Let us go immediately and start preparing for disaster. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Tequella, baby boy. Hi, Kitty. May Allah continue to bless you all. I love you all. There's nothing you can do about it. Assalamu alaikum. Good night.
Love you all.
Peace. Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.